But if Davis, for example, in the Big West tournament can beat Irvine, that's still in progress. It's just underway. We will see what develops. So let's bring in someone new to the conversation, and that, of course, is the person I had already alluded to earlier. He is Keith Petrauer, and he hosts the Sports Insight program on WHCR. That's every Friday from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And he joins us here in the city from New York. How you doing today, Keith? Or how do you?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely, not a problem at all. Well, we're talking. We both do our little, radio thing. I mean, you have an actual show. I just do a podcast. But what's really funny about that is that New York sports talk is huge in the New York market.
Absolutely. And
what? For the longest time, one of the biggest shows on the air there was a program called Mike and the Mad Dog. And so for you West Coasters out there, basically what it is you have a guy that knows sports and a guy that kind of knows sports, but he's like really excited about stuff. I think, is that an accurate depiction?
More of a fan than really a sports expert.
Yeah, and so they've been doing their thing for about 19 years, and then suddenly some satellite company comes in and says they offer the guy named Mad Dog millions and millions of dollars, and he says it's an offer he can't refuse. He takes the gig, and so from that point on, Mike, who's the other guy, the bigger guy, had been doing the show by himself. Well, their competition had been ESPN 1050, so they counter-program the people at WFAN at 66 AM. And, they've been coming, their opposition has been Drek, or as Mike Francesa would say, pea shooters. They've been coming out with pea shooters. And, they started off with, they have Michael Kay, who was the Yankees broadcaster, later. But before that, they had a show called The Max Kellerman Show. Now, those of you in the know obviously know Max Kellerman is a big-time guy he did Around the Horn for a while. He does boxing. I'm still incensed that he took over for Larry Merchant on HBO, but I'll talk about that later. Anyway, he left the station today because of a dispute with the show that ESPN is putting on now from the national feed called The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Have you ever heard that show, by the way, The Herd with Colin Cowherd, Keith?
I haven't. I've heard of Colin Cowherd, but I've not heard his show now. Out here in New York, it's the strangest thing. 1050, which they spent a lot of money trying to shake up that lineup over the last couple of years. But the thing about it is that in a lot of the New York metropolitan area, it just doesn't come in on radios clearly because it's 1050 on the dial. It's way up there, and whereas everybody gets 660, even on the cheapest radio set, a lot of people in their cars aren't able to get a clear signal of 1050.
Yeah, you're right in that respect. And what's really ironic is that some of the biggest teams are on that station. You got the Rangers and you've got the Knicks on that station. You can't even pick them up.
Yeah, as I understand, sometime next year, I think they're moving to the FM side of the dial. So I guess that's supposed to address that problem. But in the meantime, that's just one of the problems that they've had in competing with WFAN, which has been the undisputed flagship sports station in New York for the past 20 years. I mean, the program you mentioned, Mike and the Mad Dog, was so famous because that's what really got WFAN off the ground. They were the first really big show on there that they did the drive home, and they did it for 19 years and was kind of a fixture here in New York sports. I'm Just in the Morning was on the station for a while too, but really Mike and the Mad Dog were the faces of the station. So when Mad Dog, as you mentioned, accepted a $15 million contract to go to Sirius XM and start his own station there, it was really a huge shock to the New York sports media community because this duo that had been together for so long was breaking up. It came, not so much as a surprise because there had been rumors the two of them were fighting for a couple of months before the split happened. Although in their 19 years together, as they point out all the time, they've had a number of fights, but this one was their last one, as they cite the better contract offer as the reason that Dog leaves WFAN. So since then, Francesa's been doing his show this solo by himself from 1 o'clock all the way to 5:30 every single day on WFAN, and he calls that spot the prime real estate when it comes to radio in New York, and it really is because you know, like I said, no one really gets the ESPN station clearly out here, so everyone tunes into FAN on the drive home. And since August, Mike Francesa has had that spot all to himself. Now he has been saying that he's been looking for a replacement for Dog. He's been looking for a new partner to come on and do the show with him. But you know, the general opinion of Mike Francesa is that he's kind of full of himself. He's kind of I guess pompous is the word that a lot of people use to describe him, to a fault, really. He is very, very educated when it comes to college basketball and baseball and horse racing and a whole number of sports. But he's the first one to let you know that. So a lot of followers of the show believe that he is not too eager to sign a partner onto the show.
Right, and so now, so go ahead, Keith.
Well, I mean, now these rumors are flying around now that Kellerman has left ESPN Radio. He becomes really, I guess, the front runner that everyone's talking about. Is he the new candidate? There were rumors that he had been seen going out to dinner with Mike Francesa a few weeks ago. So, you know, there's rumors abound that Kellerman could be joining FAN in some sort of capacity. And, of course, the biggest rumor of them all is, would it be that he'd be replacing Mad Dog, joining Francesa in the afternoons on FAN.
Wow, how about that? Now, do you remember? Have you had a chance to listen to Kellerman's radio show or his stint on Around the Horn?
I've seen him on Around the Horn. I've heard his radio show only a couple of times. I'm not really a big fan. You know, he makes very bold statements sometimes. He's been wrong on a ton of things, especially when it comes to the Yankees, which he claims are his number one team. You know, he sort of, to me, he comes across as a guy who's trying to be a Jersey version of Jim Rome. You know, he tries to go with the whole Jim Rome, you know, tough guy, tough young guy attitude, where he'll bully his callers and kind of, you know, just act like a real tough guy in the air, which is an entertaining character. That's something that ESPN, you know, it works on ESPN. It works definitely on Around the Horn, and it made him one of the more memorable characters in Around the Horn. But I don't know how well that transfers to radio. I've heard, a few times I've heard him on radio. He hasn't really kept my interest. And well, I'd be interested to see what kind of drama would ensue when you team up two alpha dogs like him and Francesa together. I'm sure there would be, you know, there'd be headbutting going on there, and that would be fun to see. But in terms of the quality of that radio program, I don't think it would be that good. I don't think he's a good fit with Mike Francesa in terms of putting together a good radio show, a good sports radio show.
Wow. You know, I think it would be nice to have another guy just so that Mike Francesa would have something to bounce off ideas from, though. But I think in general that makes you make a good point. They don't really work together. I don't really see it.
You know, there's been rumors that Francesa wants to get a younger partner. He doesn't want another old guy in the studio with him, so somebody to bring in the younger audience, which makes sense. And, you know, the names that have been floating around have been guys like Ian Eagle, who reportedly was offered the job but turned it down because he's satisfied right now being the voice of the New Jersey Nets. He said it's a job that, you know, he would have taken in a heartbeat years ago, but now I guess, you know, he feels that he's comfortable in his current position. Bill Simmons, who I'm a big fan of, is another guy who's been rumored. His contract with ESPN expires next year in 2010, and he's claimed on the air that Francesa offered him Mad Dog's job, although whether that's true or not, I'm not really sure. But you know, his contract with ESPN is up next year, so it's a possibility that he could sign on to WFAN in 2010. So his name's definitely mentioned, and the midday guys as well, of course. Evan Roberts and Joe Beningo, their names have been floated around. But you know, Max Kellerman now, as I said, jumps to the top of that list because, you know, like him or not, he is a big name in New York sports radio. He does have a following of his own, and he's going to sign somewhere, and WFAN definitely seems like a logical fit.
Wow, how about that? But, you know, let's see. So with Kellerman gone, that means that Cowherd's spot will take over that, Cowherd's show will take over that slot. And that's going to be an interesting year in New York sports radio, no question about it.
Yeah, a lot of movement all around. I don't know if Cowher's definitely in that spot. From what I've heard, Bill Simmons, who's got quite a following with his podcast, is also interested in getting his own radio show on ESPN Radio. And he said that he's going to throw his hat into the ring, too. So, it's going to be interesting to see what ESPN chooses as their new lineup. And as well with FAN, if they do bring in Kellerman, it's not a guarantee that he would be the new Mad Dog. It's also possible they could put him on the midday show maybe opposite Evan Roberts and then move Joe Beningo to team up with Mike Francesa or just do a shift like that. So really, it's all we can do right now is speculate, but it's kind of like the Manny Ramirez situation where now there's this big free agent, and it's just a matter of time to find out where he's going to wind up signing.
That's a fun analogy, actually. I appreciate that love for the Manny Ramirez, dropping him in there.
I'm sure you guys out there appreciate it, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, it's nice.